Hello, my name is Yanzhao Chen, a master degree student studying in digital media art. This video essay will be investigating the influence of installation art to the digital industry. It will involve what kind of different features installation art has, a critical research which is about whether installation art brings audience a unique experience. I will be highlighting what type of installation art they are interested in other words, investigating the current audience taste. And in the stage of idea development, working process, and reflection, what is the key element and how does the artist express their idea in the work? I will consider the area that installation art can be used in for offering an effective influence. I will be highlighting the future development of this type of art based on the interview and other research. Finally, I will conclude an overview of the research and reflecting it in my future study. In 1994, Yannick Schiffer concluded 6 crucial elements of installation, which attempt to define a general terms of this new type of art. The author state set specificity, temporality, zebra, process, and photo recorded are each separate part of a complex whole. Besides, the author emphasized interaction, which brings difference to audience compared with the traditional digital performance. For installation art in 20th century, interaction between physical and cerebral level has had an important part to play in terms of participating. Interaction at the beginning might not be classified as art, for it's a part of everybody's day-to-day life. But the perception is altered by my living environment created by Colette. As she said, from 1970 to 1982, I lived as a work of art in the work of art. It turned interaction into artistic reality. So based on the therapy, interaction begins to be one of the features of installation art. In this book, the authors identified 3 phases in the interaction with the artwork, which are circumspection, testing, and play. They also mentioned 2 pervasive features of the experience that installation arts provide. The features can be summarized in experience sharing and imitation. Audience experience is rooted in the embodied and performative interaction with the installation, and is negotiated with the other audience. In the Guardian's article, 2 detailed preconditions, small scale and large scale, are given for exploring how to create unique and immersive experience for audience. But both of them emphasize it is required to make allowance for each audience member's own pace, looking for opportunities, where possible, to leave time for them to make choices, and have some control around how they engage and when they assess the work. Look after your audience is another idea that Joe Fleischer will state in his work for providing a unique experience for audience.
And the chance to be here as part of the city is really very special. I mean, it was an interesting feeling when Chapman and I here were last night. Everybody's going about their business. They're at the bar, they're standing at the bus stop, and all of a sudden the clock tower came to life with the music, and for 2 minutes there was our piece being played. And you know, we never had an experience like that before. Normally it's in a concert hall, and I think that's incredibly important and wonderful, and I really am enjoying that about this.
I interviewed Youlong in 2018.
Each audience has different kind of feelings about the work. So this kind of feeling do not belong to the artist; they belong to the audience. So that's the difference.
So based on the investigation, the methodology of providing a unique experience for audience seems to return to audience themselves. Paying attention to different type of audience is required in the process of user testing before the outcome release. As Giulio Giucucci states, to make audience be able to immerse into an installation project, it seems to be necessary for audience to be a part of the structure. Peter Dosgaard supports this therapy in 2008. In the interaction design, a kernel factor of aesthetics of interaction is located in the audience experience of him or herself performing their expressions. Installation art focuses from visual effects of art to representing communication. The artist presents an environment or site of structure within audience creation rather than an aesthetically object. A deeper subjective perception of individual audience is desired by the artist compared with the common or an evaluation.
So it's a very cross-field thing. So you need to think about the maybe technique, the science, the biology, the geometry, so much things to work on. And different artists, they choose to focus on one or two fields for their work, like light or sound or audiovisual things. So maybe I think the process you are making the project is very different. So it is also the most important part, because the way you make the work is also the way you express your feeling or idea.
Participate an installation project seems to be a conversation with lived environment. The material of making one project can be existing components, for instance, industrial or everyday items, and commonplace materials. As Yolong mentioned before, technology which is widespread also can be used in it. This innovation increases the scope of what qualifies as installation artwork. According to the development of installation art, could you talk about where that the installation art can be used in, or that the effective influence it brings to?
As I mentioned before, the new media art or installation art will bring more interactive things to the audience. So it can be placed in a very normal place, like a supermarket, or like a shopping mall, or in a park or something.
Yolong's talking is evidenced by a case study happened in 2012. As the main purpose, it experiments the social acceptability of performative actions in public spaces. Based on the performance theory, phenomenology, sociology, an investigation of the relation between the structure and the audience, this case study presents how the audience is an operator, performer, and a spectator while interacting. More importantly, this 3-in-1 type of mode has the capacity to make audience find a new exploration relevant to the lived environment. The BBC News shows installation art can be used in kids' education and bring an effective influence. They offer commonplace materials for kids to let them make anything by their willingness, and leave those things to reflect how kids use creativity in their everyday life. Aimed at families, this project helps parents motivate their kids' creation. The trend of development for installation art has been argued. They have a lifespan, which means that they are governed by time, especially in the gallery environment. It seems that they are temporary in nature. For instance, one installation object is not built to the last. As for when it's time for next exhibition, it will be dismantled. Installation art is an ever-mutating art form which refuses to have confined place on it, and therefore is difficult to pin down. But one theory is reported by Michael Petrel in 2004. The production of installations is the physical realization of the intellectual notion. In the future development, once this has been achieved, the work has lived out its life and can be memoried in audience mind through photography. Contemporary artists use installation art as a medium to provide a complete, unified experience for audience. With the development of technology, the artists attempt to use new digital technique for creating installations. I asked Youlong about what type of material for contemporary installations.
What we are focusing on is kind of like AI or VR, the new media things. Because the new media art is kind of like to use the new media or use the old media in a very new way. So from the scientists or engineers, because they are trying to improve the science or the techniques, but we are trying to think about the logic of the human beings and the techniques. So they are improve the things, but we are holding it back.
As Youlong mentioned, installation artist has been turning toward work that immerse viewers in a virtual reality, such as Daniel's work. The project transports visitors to a Brazilian rainforest, complete with rustling leaves and imposing tree trunks. Although this new technology has not been widely adopted by the art world, it seems that it is becoming one of the foremost directions in the installation art future. As for conclusion of overview, installations with interaction have been developed since 20th century. Michael Patrick states the experience offering for audience is to make them as a part of the whole structure. This integral creative process of thought and the production bring an effective influence for the digital industry. Although some of the contemporary artists are still making installations without physical interaction, such as Ivy's work, this type of installation, which consists of everyday items or commonplace materials, are close to our lived environment and produce resonance with audience. As Philip Westcott quotes, it reminds me of when I let my year 11 stack the chairs unsupervised at the end of the lesson. The interaction in this type of work happens mentally. In other words, its influence embeds our daily life. During the development, new technologies such as VR, AR has been involved in installation art. As Anna Trevanova present, it may become important in the future for the installation industry.